It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerized. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It is Monday, start of a new week, Christmas week, by the way. So happy holidays to everybody. I know conservative heads just exploded, which is great. I always enjoy when that happens. But those of you who, don't get triggered or offended by people saying happy holidays to you and yours. So that said, we got a great show coming up here. We're going to talk about, of course, stimulus checks, the stimulus deal. We have a deal, folks. We all have a deal. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to tell you what this deal is, what's in it. Fun. We're also going to talk about Donald Trump continuing to hold on desperately to this dream of being president for another 4 years. Or possibly more. Who knows? Who knows what kind of plans that he has in his brain that is likely congealed with McDonald's grease and whatever else. Diet Coke. Not sure. Hey, you know what? I can make fun of his eating habits because I eat almost as bad. Maybe almost, not quite, but still pretty bad. I really got to work on it. We're also going to talk about Fox News viewers not happy with Maria Bartiromo. Why? Why is Fox News suddenly giving credence to these videos that are debunking voter fraud? Very interesting. Super interesting. We also are going to talk about how Turning Point USA has a money cannon. That's a great story. I don't want to give too much away on that. And then, of course, more drama between Melania Trump and her ex-friend. Had some not so nice things to say about Ivanka. So, just fun stuff. Before we get into it, Justin Vigil, I just watched a video of Bo, the fifth column. He raised $10,000 in 1.5 hours to help people. That is incredibly based. Wonderful, wonderful. Big shout out to him. So, maybe at some point, I want to maybe have a discussion with Bo. Seems like a pretty good guy. So, nice. Dango Bangle says, Kushner got something named after him at the Israeli embassy. Interesting. Let's see. Yeah, well, that's totally not related to anything Kushner had done. No, not at all. What are you talking about? I'm going to have to fact check that one because I didn't see anything in there for Israel. $500 million I didn't see anything in there for that. So let me actually do some live on the air fact checking. So for Israel, I'm gonna do it on the fly here. Do it live. Do it live. Let's see. I wouldn't be surprised if there were giveaways because there's plenty of giveaways. I'm going to talk about at least one of them in COVID bill. Dealer brand. July 1st, $100 million COVID aid. 300. Wall Street Journal. Everything that I'm seeing is from earlier July, so I don't know if it's in the final bill. But I'm looking at Wall Street Journal, who of course is going to try to put it behind a paywall. Wall Street Journal, how dare you? All right. Households and workers, jobless aid, rental assistance, all that stuff we're going to talk about. Business, lots of stuff for business. Don't really see anything. So, nope. Not in this one, but in the CARES Act, maybe. Again, I'd have to do more fact checking on that one too. I don't remember seeing anything about that. Okay, anyway. Surf Times, U.S. Embassy in Israel. Why don't I simul-stream on Twitch? Hey, it's the Surfs. I am simul-streaming on Twitch, actually. Yes, that is, it is Jeff_Waldorf on Twitch, actually. What we're doing here. I will link my channel, actually, for you guys. Let me go here. Throw that in the chat here on YouTube. That's my Twitch channel. All right, so let's move on here. Let's get into the show. Welcome to the Surfs. Thank you for jumping in. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Glad to see you here. I have been jumping into the Surfs as well. Onto their channel. They do a great show. So support that channel, support independent progressive media. We all need to stay together in this big lefty family that we have. Although we've had a lot of family infighting as of late, we're not really going to get anywhere if we're all at each other's throats. We got to go after the establishment, and we got to go after Republicans. And so the Surf's doing great work over there on Twitch as well. You guys are crushing it. So thank you. For coming on the show and for being super kind and super based. Is that a thing? Can you be super based, or just normally? I don't know how it works. I'm kind of old and not really versed in the Twitch sphere. I don't do a lot of streaming there. I do stream the show, but I mean, doesn't mean I'm like up with the vernacular on that. But I don't know. I'm not sure who Richard Medhurst is. All right. Let's start out with the first story. Let's talk about the COVID relief bill, and one of the things in there that was really kind of frustrating to see. So let's dive into it. Hey, that's the wrong one. That was from the other day, actually. Folks, we have a deal. Congress finally got its head out of its ass long enough to give the American people another round of stimulus. So now it's about $900 billion. And what's in it? Oh, I mean, that's the big question, right? What's in it? What's in it for you? What's in it for your family? What's in it for big corporations? Turns out there's a lot for big corporations and not a lot for you. So let's go into the details here. According to Huffington Post, the final deal would give $300 a week in federal benefits, that's unemployment insurance, to laid off workers on top of state benefits for about 11 weeks. As well as an extra 11 weeks of compensation for people who have been unemployed for so long, they've run out of both their state and federal benefits. And so $300 a week, that's half of what was involved in the CARES Act. So we've had quite a bit of a downgrade. Not good. Now there's also a $600 stimulus check given out to people with roughly the same rules as first check, except that dependents now, instead of receiving $500, will receive $600. So they giveth, but then they taketh away. They take away a lot. By the time the next stimulus happens, and I don't even know if there will be, but if there's another stimulus after this, which there absolutely needs to be, I'm afraid it's going to end up being cut in half again. So now, instead of a $600 stimulus check, you'll have a $300 stimulus check, and then so on and so forth, and at some point, you'll get half a coupon to Chili's. It's 2-for-1 Friday, though. Is that a thing? 2-for-1 Friday? There's a 2-for-1 Tuesday. I don't know. That's what they're doing. So now, what else are they doing? Okay, so that's how it's going to affect you and your family. What about everything else? Well, what about state aid? Okay, well, turns out there is no state and local funding. None. They left that out. There is some additional aid that went to food assistance, as well as $25 billion to establish a new program to provide emergency rental assistance. So they are not canceling rent. There is no real big rent moratorium, anything like that. So what about the business side? Business side. There was some Paycheck Protection Program money, a lot of it. So now the problem, of course, is that you have people like Joel Osteen, who ended up getting about $4.4 million from the original CARES Act, Paycheck Protection Program. So there's not a lot of oversight. People are buying cars and, mega churches are getting money. The big chain stores, chain restaurants, they're getting money when they don't necessarily need it. And so you have this lack of oversight, and the lion's share of this money, of course, at least $200 billion, went towards the Paycheck Protection Program with very, very, as I said, little oversight. Now, something that did get left out was liability insurance for corporations. At least it's good that, we're not going to allow corporations to be able to, screw people over and not provide, PPE and everything like that, and not give people the recourse if they get sick. So that's really important. So that is something that didn't make the final bill. But nonetheless, companies got a lot of goodies. They made off pretty well in this. In fact, the Washington Post reported on Sunday that the 3 martini lunch tax deduction was included as a part of this bill. Now, what the hell is that? So basically, it allows companies to deduct the full cost of business meals off their taxes. So, hey man, free lunches, free dinners, free corporate dinners for everybody. I mean, if you're an executive. If you're not an executive, well, screw you. Don't you have $600 to go spend? Don't spend it all in one place. I mean, what could rent cost anyway in this country? $600 should be able to hold you for another 6 months at least. I mean, that's kind of like how they calculated the $1,200, right? Since, $1,200, that should last you for a long time. In fact, they're saying that, you should be fine until March, next March, with the $600. Now, here's the funny thing about this, and it's all a joke. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin included that meal deduction as a White House priority. Gee, I wonder why. Why is that a priority for you? Oh, right, because you're all business executives. Yeah, of course. So free corporate meals for you, right? Here's the thing. Most people are not going to use this. Corporations don't even need this. And it will come to about a couple, $1 billion, which is still a hell of a lot of money. You could use that to go and send people additional monies for checks and things like that, instead of doing, free corporate lunches. I thought there was no such thing as a free lunch. Well, I guess unless you're a giant multinational corporation, then you get all the free lunch you want. But here's the thing. It's not going to do anything for restaurants. So the White House is saying, well, this is for the restaurant industry so that they can, make money. But wait, we have a pandemic going on. Nobody wants to eat at the restaurant. The swanky-ass executives, they're not going to want to eat at the restaurants. They're not going to want to have 3-hour business lunches that are paid for by the taxpayer. So, but it's just another bullshit giveaway. But understand, this is what Republicans love to do. In exchange for this, Republicans, by the way, agreed to expand tax credits for low-income families and the working poor in the final package. So, business corporate lunches in exchange for tax credits for poor people. So understand that's the priority. And I point that out because, again, while this is a really terrible bill, a shitty bill, Republicans actually wanted to make it shittier for you in service of their own donors. I mean, again, this is bad. $600 is not going to pay the rent for anybody, okay? Millions of people are right now operating with back rent that they cannot afford to pay. How much? There's an earlier report this month that came out that says that Americans collectively owe about $70 billion in back rent. The millions of Americans right now that have been, have lost their jobs or in all of this, from the pandemic. And obviously we did not pass that good of a stimulus from the CARES Act to begin with because it didn't have a UBI, it didn't have rent cancellation. And so now as a result, $70 billion worth of back rent. I mentioned earlier that there's $25 billion allotted for that rent program. $25 billion is not $70 billion. It is less than $70 billion, which means it is not going to help the majority of people that are behind on their rent right now. Much less, again, the $600. It's not going to touch back rent. Much less food, health insurance, utilities, of which Americans are also behind on. This is not a stimulus check. It is a survival check that barely allows anyone to survive. Now, it was so bad that even Donald Trump, and I know he only wants to do it because of course, he wants to get people to support his coup, his clown coup. But he was saying, let's do $2,000. And he had to get literally restrained, well, not literally. He had to get restrained and held back by his aides because they're like, no, you're going to blow up the negotiations. How dare you demand $2,000? Which here's the thing. The Democrats would probably go, no, okay, here's what the Democrats would do. Trump would go, $2,000. I can get Mitch McConnell to do this. And if Mitch McConnell ever did, Democrats would still be like, oh no, let's go down to $1,200. They always negotiate from a stance of weakness. It's insane. And then he'd be like, Republicans, wonderful, wonderful Republicans, they were so generous and gracious enough to give you $1,200. Democrats. But again, you have polling, and this is where the Democrats really fail on this. You have support from the American people that shows that, over like a vast majority, over 80% of Americans in some polls support stimulus checks of at least $1,200. Okay, and yet Nancy Pelosi, she's an awful negotiator. Okay, she has terrible political instincts. In fact, right after this had passed, here's what she said on the floor. Take a look.
We also have in the legislation direct payments, which were not in the Republican bill, to America's working families. I would like them been bigger, but they are significant, and they will be going out soon.
They're significant. That's what someone who is out of touch says. $600 is not significant. Nancy Pelosi is worth over $100 million. That's not significant, $600. If she had good political instincts, she'd be like, look, this is the best that we can get. Why is it the best that we can get? Because Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has blocked everything that we put up. Every single thing. If you elect us, and if you give us control of the Senate, we will give you $2,000 a month in a UBI. We will pass that immediately. but you got to put us in power. You got to put us in power. But instead, she's like, oh, it's not as big as what I want, but it's still pretty significant. Yeah, thank you to Mitch McConnell. And by the way, you were allowing Mitch McConnell to look like some sort of pragmatic deal maker. Like Mitch McConnell, oh, the wonderful bipartisan Mitch McConnell. What a good job in negotiating with us so that we can come up with this wonderful bipartisan deal. Are you kidding me? Terrible, terrible political instincts. Terrible. And look, in fact, she had turned down, and this is what's even worse, she had previously turned down another stimulus package, which would have been double the size, $1.8 trillion, right? Now, this was before the election, and she turned it down for completely political reasons. And guess what? It bit her in the ass. It didn't work. What a complete failure of leadership. And the Senate didn't even consider the Sanders-Hawley bill, which would have been $1,200. Again, not what we need. The Progressive Caucus, I believe, was putting up, trying to push a $2,000 a month UBI. Sanders and Hawley got together. In fact, Josh Hawley's a Republican, very conservative, comes out and says, look, this is a disgrace. This is terrible. How could we not put $1,200 into people's pockets? Bernie Sanders out there is saying essentially the same thing about this bipartisan compromise. And yet Nancy Pelosi, it's like, oh, well, it's adequate. No, it's not. Out of touch, 100%. And again, this is what you expect, what I've come to expect in America. We put corporate profits and tax breaks above the needs of the American people, who are teetering right on the edge and are falling over. Even with this stimulus check, they are falling off the edge. And yet, again, Senator Mitch McConnell, who has been pushing bills without any sort of stimulus, without any sort of help for the American people, all for corporations, here's what he said. We can finally report what our nation has needed to hear for a very long time. More help is on the way. More help is on the way. And that's, and the Democrats don't fight against this, against that. Mitch McConnell is nicknamed the Grim Reaper because he has killed so many bills. And as a result, by the way, of not passing these bills until so late, you've had millions of people lose their house, their houses, their homes. People are starving. They're stealing to survive, and yes, people have died as well. So yeah, he's totally the Grim Reaper. Progressives, of course, push back on this. Rashida Tlaib, here's what she asked after that. More help for who? How are the millions of people facing evictions, remaining unemployed, standing in food bank and soup kitchen lines supposed to live off $600? We didn't just send help. We didn't sell help for 8 months. This is not leadership. There's no compassion, just politics of greed and power. Well, one thing that I think progressives don't quite understand is that you have to, in order to project power, you have to amass power as well. And so Mitch McConnell is probably about the most ruthless at projecting and amassing power. We need somebody on the progressive side who is ruthless, but for a good cause. I think somebody who knows the rules, who plays the game, but for good ends, and that is really difficult to find, almost impossible, for many, many different reasons. But we do need someone who will push our policies and our side as aggressively as someone like Mitch McConnell, but in a way that actually works and does things and gets results. And I don't know if we have this. All right, more. Representative Ro Khanna also said this. He said that while he intends to vote yes in the package because it's urgent and a lifeline, the final deal is, quote, far less than what we need, far less than we could have gotten earlier this year. And he's 100% right on both of those. He added 8 million have fallen into poverty since June. If we hadn't made this deal today, 12 million Americans were going to lose unemployment benefits. But again, this is not nearly enough for the people. Survival bill, not a progressive one. Bottom line, we're going to come back in January to keep working on this in the new Congress. And I hope they do. because this can't be all the help Americans are getting. I understand that, like, you also have to work with Mitch McConnell right now, okay? Mitch McConnell, as I said before, he's a Machiavellian genius. He doesn't give a goddamn about anybody. Just cares about his own power, and that's it. And his own power, his money, legacy, et cetera, right? He's going to stonewall you. There are ways to get around that, but you do have to get involved in electoral politics. I know we don't like to stain our hands with the dirtiness of electoral politics, but in the way that the country works, you do have to do some of that while also doing direct action. And I support both of those approaches. You have to do both. You have to get involved in both. And so direct action for things like stimulus checks, for things like Medicare for all that stuff is wonderful. And we should absolutely do that. But also there is electoral politics involved too. We can't just do one and not the other. And so, and look, as far as leadership goes, I've shown you weak leadership. What does strong leadership mean? Well, we have to make big demands, but be willing to offend Republicans and corporate Democrats for calling them out for their hostility when it comes to helping the working class. Remember, part of this bipartisan compromise was Joe Manchin. So Manchin calls himself a Democrat, really not that good of one. More of a Republican than anything else. And not kowtowing to those people, but instead going towards the people who are overwhelmingly in favor of at least $1,200 stimulus. And of course, you also have to call out corruption where it sits, but also that involves not being corrupt, or at least not being out of touch, which unfortunately Nancy Pelosi is both. And so we do need that strong leadership. We do need to be able to be willing to offend our Republican colleagues and corporate Democrats in order to push the things, but we also have to be strategic as well on how we do this and how we leverage power. So it's an interesting dynamic. It's a very fine line that you have to walk. And understandably, not everybody has the ability and skill to do that. And so we've got to figure it out. We've got to figure out how to do it because, again, what we're getting from our government is not enough. And until we have real representation and civic action, it's never going to be enough. Okay. Wow, that was a half-hour segment? Almost. Jesus Christ. Guys, don't let me drone on like that for that long. What the hell? I got more stories to do. All right. President Donald Trump is still trying to find a way to stay in power. And over the weekend, he and his allies apparently discussed a military option. Oh, great. Now, according to reports, Trump discussed invoking martial law in order to overturn his losing the election. A strategy, of course, that was floated by disgraced General Michael Flynn. And he had talked about this on Newsmax. Now, that was just one of the ideas, the insane ideas, floated during Friday's meeting, which became, according to reports, raucous and involved people shouting at each other at times, according to the Times. So, great. Now, things also discussed were the naming of Sidney Powell as a special counsel to investigate voter fraud. So they are literally having discussion of putting, what was it, the Kraken lady over as a special counsel. Voter fraud. Wow. Like, here's the thing. They're not going to find anything. William Barr found nothing. And trust me, he was one of those people that was incredibly loyal to Donald Trump. And it was in his best interest to find voter fraud, and yet found nothing. Same thing about the Voter Fraud Commission, which also, again, found nothing, no evidence of voter fraud in any of our recent elections, 2016 included. So if you have her investigate, you're going to have one of two things happen. One, she's going to find no evidence and be forced to admit that there's no evidence, that voter fraud didn't happen, that they couldn't find any evidence of voter fraud. Now, the second, and probably the more obvious thing that's going to happen, if this were to happen, she would make things up because she's Sidney Powell. Make up the most insane conspiracy theories with no evidence to back it up, and of course completely embarrass the White House and everyone working in it. And that, of course, is the end result. And so the thing is, the grift ain't going to work if you have an investigation. If you get your investigation. Remember, the entire narrative depends on not doing an investigation. Because then they can say, oh, deep state, corrupt, the mainstream media, Bill Gates, the Bilderbergs, they're stopping the investigation from really happening. So we can never really find out how extensive this voter fraud is. But trust us, it's out there. The voter fraud is out there. And, you know, it's there. It's there. And Donald Trump really won the election, even though Joe Biden is not the president. And we can hold this over him for the next 4 years. That's what it is. And by the way, give us money so that we can, quote unquote, launch our own investigations. If Sidney Powell actually got that power, she would inadvertently, and I say inadvertently because I don't think she's smart enough to know that she's grifting, she would inadvertently expose the said grift. Which is why everybody who is aware of the grift opposed the special counsel's idea, including chief grifter Rudy Giuliani. I mean, White House counsel Pat Cipollone and Chief of Staff Mark Meadows repeatedly and aggressively pushed back on the ideas being proposed, according to the Times, which went beyond the special counsel idea, and Cipollone told Trump that there was no constitutional authority for what was being discussed. At one point in the meeting, also, Donald Trump asked about Sidney Powell receiving security clearances in order to conduct her work. Security clearances. Imagine giving that conspiracy theorist an overall nutbag a security clearance. Hilarious. And the thing about Donald Trump arguing for this, because that's what he is that he drank his own Kool-Aid. He got high off his own supply. Never drink the Kool-Aid. Again, I've told you, Donald Trump, oh, the election was stolen from me. He's inhaling that copium, right? Oh, I can go and still win, though, if I can prove this election fraud exists. Give me Sidney Powell. Never drink your own Kool-Aid. Don't do it. Don't do it. Another reported idea weighed during Friday's meeting was an executive order to seize voting machines, to which, of course, William Barr comes out and says there's no way that is going to happen. Giuliani also separately asked the Department of Homeland Security to seize voting machines, but apparently it was to no avail. According to the Times, it was told the department does not have such authority to steal voting machines, to just go and seize private property from these companies. So, no, but understand, okay, Donald Trump is stretching this out as far as he can go. And he has lost every single appeal. Again, I think they're doing something again to stop certification in Pennsylvania. It's already been certified. The Supreme Court refused to hear the case, and there's nonetheless still going after it. They're like 1 in 56. That's a terrible record. That's a bad record. Like, you suck at this. You're terrible at this. What are you doing? And again, I understand, like, the whole thing, and you know, this is part of my problem too, is that I want to laugh at the silly clown. Because he is. He is a clown, okay? But again, this is serious because he is also trying to go authoritarian. He is talking about doing martial law and military options to overthrow a lawful election. And you've got millions of people that are like, yeah, let's do that, yeah. Completely upend the Constitution. Yeah, in order to protect the Constitution, we're going to shred the Constitution. Yeah, Trump 2020. That's what's going on here. Okay. He's very desperate. And when people are desperate, they are afraid. And again, people inside the administration, those who are around him all the time, they are also afraid. In fact, a senior administration official talked to Axios, and here's what they said. People who are concerned and nervous aren't the weak-kneed bureaucrats that we loathe. So you know it's a Trump guy. Like, oh, yeah, we loathe the bureaucrats, weak-knees. Also, you're scared of the authoritarian clown. So you might want to do something about that. They continue by saying, these are people who have endured arguably more insanity and mayhem than any administration officials in history. Doesn't that make you feel all warm and fuzzy, knowing that that's what's happening in the holes of power in the most powerful and well-armed country on earth? Very nice. Very nice. But you also have journalists who are also used to the insanity around Donald Trump because they cover him day in, day out. And here's what they say. Sources who have gotten used to Trump's eruptions over the 4 years sound scared by what has transpired in the past week. When I've talked to them, the Times' Maggie Haberman tweeted. Jonathan Swan of Axios also observed a similar change among White House aides, noting that he has been, quote, covering Donald Trump for a while and can't recall hearing more intense concern from senior officials who are actually, quote unquote, Trump people. 25th Amendment. I know, it's not, we got like a month, all right? Donald Trump is less than a month in office. And yet we are still having to have the discussion of, is it time for the 25th Amendment yet? I mean, I think it's past time for the 25th Amendment. Like, it's over. Okay, it should have happened the day after the election. Why the day after the election? Because, well, you didn't want to run against Mike Pence, did you? Now that, that's gone. 25th Amendment already. Because he's still in power until the 20th. And he has gotten progressively more insane. And I'm, again, very concerned about what's happening if he's actually openly talking about sending in the troops. No, very concerning. And the reason is, of course, this is a desperate man. Okay, he is at the end of his rope. The creditors are calling. All right, there are people out there. He owes about $500 million to creditors, right? And not only that, but there are investigations in the Southern District of New York that I'm pretty sure he is really not interested in dealing with, okay? And whether or not Biden's administration would actually attempt to prosecute him, they'll laugh along with me, I don't think they will. I think they're going to do the whole we look forward and not backwards thing that Obama had done with Bush, okay? But nonetheless, he is a paranoid person, Trump is. And so he's still, no matter what, he is still worried because he buys all the stuff that conservative media tells him. I have told you from day one, he is the Fox News president. And now it went from Fox News to Newsmax and OAN, who all say even more insane things than Fox News could ever dream of saying. And he's listening to them, and he believes the things that they're telling him. So that is super concerning. Big problem. Big problem. Not good. Very bad. In the immortal words of Michael Brooks. Let's move on. We have more. We're going to talk about the best people. The greatest people. The greatest patriots we have ever seen. Trump people. Gotta love them. All right. Fox News viewers recently raged at Fox News for having to accept reality. Now, according to reports, some Fox News hosts, including Lou Dobbs, and as many as 3 other hosts, have aired this pre-tape segment with a spokesperson from Smartmatic. Now, what is Smartmatic? Smartmatic is a voting systems software company. Okay, so this company makes software for voting systems. And they have been caught up in this conspiracy net from Trump supporters that believe that they have assisted Joe Biden in rigging the election and stealing the election away from Donald Trump, our rightful ruler, for the next forever or something. I don't know. So why are Fox News viewers angry about this? Well, let me show you the video, and then we'll get to the reaction to it.
There are lots of opinions about the integrity of the election, the irregularities of mail-in voting, of election voting machines, and voting software. One of the companies is Smartmatic, and we reached out to one of the leading authorities on open source software for elections, Eddie Perez, for his insight and views. Eddie is the Global Director of Tech Development at the Open Source Election Technology Institute. We asked him for his assessment of Smartmatic and recent claims about the company.
Have you seen any evidence that Smartmatic software was used to flip votes anywhere in the U.S. in this election?
I have not seen any evidence that Smartmatic software was used to delete, change, alter anything related to vote tabulation.
Smartmatic says its software was never used outside of L.A. County in 2020. Do you know whether or not that's true?
That is my understanding. Smartmatic functioned as the contract manufacturer for the Los Angeles County voting system, and that was a customized system that was effectively built to the county's order. I am not aware of them having any other direct customers, relationships with election officials in the United States.
What about Smartmatic and Dominion? Do you know if they're related, whether one owns the other, whether Dominion uses Smartmatic software?
Both Dominion and Smartmatic have individually and respectively put out very clear statements from their corporate headquarters, each of them indicating they are independent companies, they are not related to each other. It is my understanding that neither one of them has an ownership stake in the other or anything like that. They are, again, for all intents and purposes, two completely separate companies.
Have you seen any evidence of a connection between George Soros and Smartmatic?
I'm not aware of any direct connection between George Soros and Smartmatic. It is my understanding that an executive at Smartmatic has some sort of relationship with one of Soros's foundations. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Those are hilarious questions. Now, there's a connection. Is there a connection between Smartmatic and George Soros? What, you know exactly where these questions are coming from, though they're coming from Fox News. Or at least they came from Fox News. Not anymore, though. And so, again, I love how it debunked a lot of the election fraud conspiracies. Fox News is debunking their own conspiracies. It's crazy. It's awesome as well. But that said, Fox viewers not happy about this. Okay. And this is when Maria Bartiromo ended up showing the same segment there that you and I just watched. And here's what the responses were. So I guess Maria Bartiromo just sold out. Shameful. Fox News needs to be ashamed for making her air this tripe. Another one asks, who got to Maria Bartiromo? Well, it must have been the deep state. Must have been. Why she put this fraud? Eddie Perez, clearly an apologist for Smartmatic. He works for Smartmatic. So yeah, he would obviously be somebody who is in favor of the company. But also, by the way, what he's saying is also true. It also happens to be true. But no, it says, right down to reading back the questions, a deposition trick taught by good trial attorneys. Well, we got a regular law expert on Twitter, by the way. So, hey, if I ever need to look up anything like that, I would, I would go to that person. Obviously, a very, very high level of law and knowledge. Very galaxy brain here. One more person. No, I'm sorry, two more people. I love these responses. When an expert says, I am not aware of, means that they have not done any research and they are getting paid to be on a TV show. Wow, that is ironic. A lot of irony here. It's wow. Another person says, the media has been using an interview with Eddie Perez, a Smartmatic expert, in quotes, without any pushback, to make a case defending Smartmatic. It's a joke. Noticeable in the entire interview was that he answered every question with, I'm not aware of. To me, this means he knows nothing. You know what that is? That's lawyerly answers. They all do. That's corporate lawyer speak. To say, I am not aware of, or I didn't see that, whatever, right? Well, the thing is, that lawyerly answer, right, it's been used a lot by Trump supporters as well. Now, I wonder if they would extend the same sort of qualifier to Trump and his staff officials that have said that, I am not aware of, or I'm not sure of, or I didn't see any evidence of any sort of connections to maybe the Russian troll networks, that were operating during 2016 that tried to influence the election. Any of that? No?
Tighten up my meat.
Well, we know the answer, of course. No. When it comes to that, well then, of course, he says he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. He's not involved. One more, actually. I don't watch many Fox News shows, but I did watch Jesse Waters last night and Maria Bartiromo this morning. Oof, terrible. Bad choice. And at the end of both of their shows, they had to air the clip from Smartmatic saying they were not involved in the 2020 election. I'm guessing this was mandated by Fox. Well, you're not totally wrong there. Turns out that it is. See, this is a result of a legal threat by Smartmatic. Turns out Smartmatic was not in favor of the kind of libelous things that Fox News hosts were saying about their company. And so, well, they threatened to sue. And so, for example, in the threat, they accused Fox News of participating in a disinformation campaign against the firm, saying over the course of the campaign, Fox News published and republished dozens of false and misleading statements regarding Smartmatic. Now, here's the thing, right? If Fox News was right and they were doing fearless truth-telling journalism against a corrupt company that was working with the Chinese and with Hugo Chavez's ghost/corpse in order to elect radical leftist Joe Biden, who's going to embrace communism and force you to get all gay married while eating your babies, and then after they destroy America, well, why did they immediately, at the possibility of getting sued in court and losing a bunch of money, decide to play this video instead of fighting? Oh, right. That's the reason. I just gave it away. It's about money. It's about money, and it's because none of the stuff they're saying is true. And they know this. That's why they don't want to get sued for saying libelous things against a company. It is completely untrue and meant to damage that company. And see, that's funny because you know what? That person, one of the commenters on Twitter, were asking who got to Maria Bartiromo. Well, it's not just Maria Bartiromo, it's Fox News. You don't want to know who got to Fox News? Corporate lawyers from Smartmatic. And not just, Fox News. You also had complaints against OAN, who's spreading the same kind of conspiracies, as well as Newsmax. Another conservative outlet that is spreading the same kind of falsehoods about this company. Now, again, this is super ironic because Republicans normally love corporations. They love them. In fact, they wanted to give corporations immunity for 5 years in the recent stimulus. And then, of course, gave them gigantic, enormous tax cuts. But now, apparently, you've got a slight whiff of populism that has entered the Republican sphere, especially among Republican voters. And so you've got a lot of these hosts now that are pretending to be anti-corporate, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham. But still, at the same time, Fox News is still a giant corporation, and they still serve the same vital purpose, which is being the propaganda arm of the Republican Party. Newsmax. Sorry, it was Newsmax. Newsmax. I don't remember what I said the other one. But again, here's the thing. there's no surprise here from Fox News doing what it did. Because again, there's no evidence to back up voter fraud, no evidence to back up the crazy things they're saying about Smartmatic. And so the other reason, again, that they decided to do this after, wringing as much out of the story as they could, by the way, in order to get those, those eyeballs, that viewership and all that, their profit margins were at risk from getting sued. And that's it. And so, hey, now it's over. They got to stop attacking this company, and that's it. That's how Fox News operates. And there you go. All right. Oh, I'm almost dropping out my stuff. Fun times. Okay. A couple more stories to get through here. Just gonna stick with me here. Just some fun stuff. Please make sure to like and share as well. It would help out a lot, especially on YouTube. Looking at you, 152 likes, 400 viewers. What's going on with you guys? Give me that. Help me with that algorithm, y'all. Appreciate it. Okay. Ivanka Trump just got trashed by an ex-friend of Melania. One of the fun things that were said about about Ivanka is that she is Donald Trump in a suit. I will explore that a little bit later because it's funny. So now this comes from an interview with Molly Jong-Fast, okay? And so she talked to Stephanie Winston Wolkoff. Now that is the former friend of Melania Trump, who is now promoting a book. We know that this is about. She took some shots at the first daughter, of course, calling her a both princess and someone who was incredibly tone deaf. Well, it's not like she's wrong, but let's be honest. There's exploitation here. Of course, there's Wolkoff, Stephanie Wolkoff, who was trying to get rich off knowing the Trumps and spilling the tea. And then, of course, there's the Trumps that constantly spill tea about everybody. So there are no good people in this story. There's no good guys or gals in this. Everybody's garbage. So that said, let's talk about the trash. Okay. So now, I mean, look, tone deaf, 100%, in basically everything that she does. Remember, Ivanka Trump told unemployed people who are suffering as a result of the pandemic, losing their jobs as a result of the pandemic, to go find something new. Let's find something new, they say. Oh, yes, just find something new. So easy. I mean, look, that's what she does with purses and houses. And, it's just a new job. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, look, she became an advisor to her daddy. I mean, obviously, she was super qualified. And so she can do that. You can too. Just find something new. Easy. Or you could take Joe Biden's advice and go learn to code. That's super easy too. Out of touch. All of them. Out of touch. Okay. Now, she recalled in Wolkoff recalled a specific instance of being out of touch. Okay. Now, Melania didn't come to D.C. that week, but Ivanka stayed and Donald stayed there. And all of a sudden, that's the weekend. Donald signs the immigration, what was it called? The ban. Yes, the immigration ban. Okay. There's also the family separation policy, which I think was what she was referring to. Now, basically, at that time, Ivanka's in the White House. She's showing the movie Finding Dory. Quote, now, if you couldn't be more tone deaf, children are being separated from their parents, and here you're screening a film where, again, this fish is being separated from its mother. Awesome. She's not very smart. obviously, but even more so, Ivanka Trump doesn't care about people. It's basically, fuck those kids. That's what she's about. I mean, again, they're not her kids. They're not little Trumps or little Kushners. So she doesn't give two shits about them, right? And besides, they're immigrants. I mean, obviously, you're going to expect a Trump to care about an immigrant.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Even though Melania herself is an immigrant. But wait, there's a little tension between those two as well. But look, in the eyes of a Trump conservative, if you wanted to be in America so bad, you should have been born here and born rich or white. Like a Norwegian. Why couldn't they just been Norwegian? And then we would have loved for people from Norway to come over here. In fact, the only issue with that, of course, well, there's a lot of issues with that, including the racism portion of saying, we only want white people to come over here. But when you ask Norwegians, they're like, why would we come over to your broke ass country? And we don't mean, broke as in like you don't have money. You just give it all to the rich. And yet here we at least do some things to help our citizenry in the confines of capitalism. And so we are doing, a little bit of social democracy within capitalism to at least make capitalism somewhat bearable for the majority of our population. You're not even doing the minimum of that. What you were doing with, with your country is just an absolute, humanitarian disaster. It's like real third world shit. Okay. And so, yeah. All right. There's more. The subject of Ivanka's awfulness also came up. So now, Molly Jong-Fast asked Wolkoff whether Ivanka is either evil or dumb. I love these questions. These are great. And of course, you had a little bit of both. A little bit of A, a little bit of B, a little bit of evil, a little bit of dumb, a Trump. Here's what she said. Listen, I say it as it is. I think it's a mixture. I really do. I think that Ivanka is Donald in a suit, right? I mean, you mean like, okay, Donald Trump wears a suit, but like, I've never seen a, like, I feel like conservatives' head would explode if Ivanka Trump wore a pantsuit. Because Hillary Clinton was famous for wearing pantsuits, and so any connection between her and Hillary Clinton would just be like, I mean, they couldn't handle it. The brain would leak out onto their shoulders. It wouldn't be there. It'd be way too much. But I get it. I get what she's trying to say. She's basically saying,
oh, I'm in trouble.
She is just like her daddy. She's just as dumb and as evil as Trump. And I think the elder Trump is suffering from some like brain damage. Possibly as a result of being old, or, and I'm not trying to be ageist here, or maybe as a result of his like habit, alleged habit, where a little too much of the powder. I mean, I don't know if that's true. That's a rumor, but it does mess up your brain after a while. And so, but even before that, any sort of damage from that potentially, Donald Trump was not a smart person, not a great businessman, and so she is basically like him, but without the drugs, the alleged drugs, and so, and Winston Wolkoff is going to go on to explain what she means by that. She says, apparently it's more than a last name. It's like a brand, right? Being a Trump. All the Trumps are taught to be Trumps. Oh, so it's like a way of life. So like, yeah, if you're a Trump, this is how you are. This is how do you be a true Trump? Well, for one, you got to be born rich, obviously. So no poors allowed. Okay, we don't accept the poors here. Okay, but also part of it is not showing any emotion. Okay. So, emotionless robot, got you. She also said a Trump is a Trump because they are authentically and unapologetically skin deep and also self-serving. So the only thing that matters is out here, which of course tracks, and self-serving, obviously. We know that. We've seen that. We've seen that. And their attitudes, she adds, and disrespect for each other is, again, you have to get inside to see it. Well, I'm going to pass, okay, because I couldn't imagine living in that kind of vapid, kind of horrible environment where everybody's out to, stab each other in the back. Again, you've heard of what Donald Trump did to his father. His father, which gave him every single advantage that he had in life, including his name, and the $400 million, was it a $400 million inheritance that Donald Trump pissed away? And then it wasn't enough for him when his father was suffering from, I believe it was Alzheimer's, something like that, or he was, suffering from that. Donald would maneuver around to try to get the rest of his money, his daddy's money. And so, yeah, like they're pretty gross people. I couldn't imagine being in that situation where the people backstab each other and do all this this scheming and all that stuff. It's gross. It's toxic. In fact, speaking of toxic, she then added that Ivanka had tried to once take Melania's place. Gross. I mean, when you think about it in one respect, gross. No. Ooh. I hope that's not literal. Okay. But, here's the quote. The princess wanted to render Melania irrelevant. And Melania refers to them as snakes, Kushner and Ivanka, and they'll do anything to get what they want, and they do. Of course, people. Terrible people. So again, as I mentioned before, this is one of the reasons I'd never want to be part of the club. Okay. I mean, I feel terrible for anybody not in this family who has a Trump name. Terrible. Awful. But like, it's not like somebody like me would ever have a chance of being in that club to begin with. Let's be honest, I made like $40,000 last year. So, I'm like doing okay, but I'm nowhere near that. Okay. I'm not making the YouTube, the high rolling YouTube life. Okay. Not for sure. But the problem is, of course, the point is that this is I think what they're like. This is what rich people are like. Okay. A lot of them. This is what the club is like. And I suspect toxicity in the club, but maybe, just maybe, they might even be too toxic for the club, for the socialites. And I can say that, New York does not want them, for sure. That's why they're heading, of course, to the billionaire's bunker, as I reported before, and why Ivanka wants to get into Republican politics in Florida, because look,
I'm in trouble.
Politics is toxic to begin with. Okay, it's terrible. It's awful. But in Florida, I think it's something even more special, like specially toxic and terrible, which would be a perfect place for a schemer like Ivanka. Okay. Yeah, there's that. One more. Let's go to the money cannon. Let's make fun of TPUSA. Well, and then we'll wrap it up. You know that Turning Point USA hates socialism? I know, right? I mean, yes, sure, their tagline is socialism sucks, which, I mean, let's be honest, they couldn't be more clever about this. I mean, you've got billions of dollars that you get from corporate funders, and you couldn't figure out like a better slogan to say than socialism sucks. Okay, sure, whatever. But anyway, as self-described haters of socialism, right, since they hate socialism, and proponents of bootstraps for all, a lot of people found a recent sponsor action at a TPUSA event to be a little too socialist. Take a look.
Folks, we're trying to get that thing rolling. All right.
Checkmate.
Let's go. Put some money in there. Let's go.
Yes, that was a literal money cannon being shot out at the crowd. Because nothing says conservatism than shooting money at people. I mean, what else can you really say? I mean, look at all that socialism that's happening, guys. Okay, look. Obviously, that's not what socialism is. But I could imagine, right? In reality, this is what I think a lot of conservatives imagine what would happen when you give tax cuts to the rich. Maybe not in such a literal sense, but like, oh, look at it's all the money. It's trickling down to us. I mean, sure, it's getting shot out of a cannon towards us, but it's still money coming from us. So tax cuts from the rich of the world. But no, it's not really trickling down. That's it's funny. It's really funny. You've got these corporate sponsors that are making it rain. The irony, of course, is that it's probably a minuscule amount of money compared to what they have saved in taxes by not paying taxes. But hey, yeah, trickle down. It's trickling down, guys. And the people in the crowd, I mean, you saw them, right? They're more than happy to get this handout. Hey, and I don't blame them. It's a pandemic, of course. You get what you have to do. You do what you have to do. You take the money that you have to have. If somebody shot money at me from a cannon, I'm going to grab it. Yeah, of course. It'd be great. But still, I don't see a lot of masks, speaking of the pandemic. Where are all the masks? Again, you couldn't see a whole lot, to be fair, in the crowd. I maybe saw a couple. But the video is very blurry. And so, maybe I'm not being completely totally fair, but I would imagine there's not that many masks at a Turning Point USA rally. That said, fun for them, right? Now, there were conservatives that actually were not thrilled about this. So I actually want to talk about this. Here's radio host Todd Starnes, very upset. He says, oh, wow, I thought that was some sort of Vegas nightclub. How many Vegas nightclubs have you been to? No hating here. Genuinely curious. Fun times. That really happened at a conservative concert conference for teens? I know, right? Normally, of course, what you would see from conservatives is getting money that is showered already, on the already rich. Okay, they would aim the cannon at the executives and shoot the money at them. Because that's basically what happens. So what gives, right? How dare you shoot the money at poor people, or not so poor people, because they can actually be there, but okay, whatever. But nonetheless, Todd Starnes not happy about this, okay? Alex Sears is a writer for the Daily Caller. Here's what he said. Nothing says conservatism like turning your conference into a borderline strip club. Well, again, I would ask what's wrong with that, but of course, we know the answer, teens. So if this is a teen conference, and obviously you don't want to have that. So I understand that whole part. Chris Huck, I'm sorry. Wow. Sorry, Chris. Chris is a friend, works at Tuba T. Curtis Hawk, however, is a managing editor at Newsbusters. Here's what he said. I just want to explode over how embarrassing and pathetic this is. But most of you know how I feel about TPUSA, so use your imagination. Nothing says worshiping Jesus and the need to live out the word at the same conference you drag out a money cannon with Bang girls. Okay, so let me just be clear, right? Bang is like a sponsor. That's the company, I guess, name. Okay, Bang. And those are just happen to be the Bang girls with the money game. So, I just want to be clear about this, okay? Just in case anybody gets confused. All right, that's it. He adds, this is what they're supposed to believe is the future of the conservative movement and Republican Party? There's no wiggle room to explain this away or say it's taken out of context. Don't talk about Jesus and faith and then family and then pull this crap. Wow, well, look at that. Wow. All right. Gotcha. Big mad. But hey, look, I guess he's right. It does expose the hypocrisy of TPUSA and a lot of these conservative groups. Well done. One more, Wayne Dupree. Here's from the Wayne Dupree Show, okay? I have nothing good to say about a multi-million-dollar organization that approves of their sponsors to make young conservatives look like begging liberals. Nobody wants to say anything, though. Nobody wants to open their mouths, but you'll call out the other side, the sick. Damn, that's pretty harsh. My, how the tables have turned. Okay, anyway, maybe thou dost protest this too much, but anyway, this is funny. Here's the thing, everybody likes free money. Yeah, of course, right? If somebody gives you free money, 9 times out of 10, even if you're a conservative, you're gonna take it. Yeah, of course. Maybe we should stop pretending that you're not human, right? Guess what? We need money to live. Or, buy things. Oh my God. Nice thing. You know what? I think we all want nice things. And to some extent, of course, right? It's just that, here's the thing. The difference between progressives and these conservatives, right? Progressives want to make sure that the people who, make those nice things can also afford to buy their own nice things. I know. And also, things that like housing, food, healthcare, and education are guaranteed as a human right. That is another thing as well, okay? Progressives are not into hoarding wealth. Now, that is different from conservatives because they think that, no, hoarding wealth is something a virtuous person would do. We are better, we are more moral, and that's why we are rich. And so that's why any help for the poor is not good because, well, they're poor and unworthy, they've messed up, they did something wrong, they are immoral, and so that's why we shouldn't give them money. And why we should direct all the money, we should point all the money cannons at rich people because they have deserved it. That is conservative. That is the conservative ideology of the modern Republican Party. Now, I don't agree with that. And hey, if you're a conservative and you also don't agree with that, great. Wonderful, right? Then maybe you are more progressive than you're let on. Maybe you have some progressive thoughts after all. And maybe you should reconsider being a Republican. Okay? But at the same time, right, I think that we all deserve basic things. I believe we all deserve nice things, like healthcare, like, Medicare for all, like, housing that we can live in so we don't have to be homeless, especially during a pandemic. And that, of course, right there, well, when you think about it, going back to socialism, right? Well, a lot of that could be facilitated by having a little bit more socialism. So maybe it's not so bad. All right. That's all I got for you guys today.
Tighten up my meat.
Thank you for going around the nation today. Me, much appreciated. Please like and share the stream if you enjoyed the content here today. Oh, hey, thank you, Trashy Plays, for this subscription here. That is a 3-month Tier 1 subscription. Thank you, Trashy Plays. Much appreciated over there on Twitch. Totally awesome. Let me check here on some of the donos before I go. No, you're going to make me do it. You're going to make me do it. Don't do it. I'm holding back, okay? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Okay, anyway. Let me check Twitch. Just let me check Twitch here. Again, thank you for the follows on Twitch. You're awesome. Thank you again, of course, to the Serfs for stopping by and helping spread the progressive message from us on Twitch as well. So we are taking over Twitch. We are expanding. We are growing the progressive family on another platform. Once we have Twitch and once we have YouTube, we're coming for Facebook. We're gonna take over Facebook. We're gonna do it. So that's what's gonna happen. All right. All right. So anyway, getting back to donations here. Let's see. Dango, you're incredibly generous with all these different donations. Thank you very much. Let's see. Apparently, the Legion of Doom and Cobra Command are working together with the ghost of Hugo Chavez and the Democrats to turn over the election. Yes, that is apparently what is happening. And Trump, his brain is melting because of COVID, his habit, his age, his genes, and his family. But I thought he had the great genes, the best genes, the greatest genes, tremendous genes. And then Joe Shalom says, we should have a national punch a congressman in the face day. I hear that the rest of the stimulus, you know, the other $600 is actually hidden inside your congressman, like a piñata. So, I'm just saying. That's what I heard. That's the rumor. Rumors are fun. Okay. Anyway, thank you for all those. All right. So please like and share the stream. Please like our videos, share our videos, follow us on Twitch, subscribe to YouTube as well. All that wonderful stuff. Thank you again. We'll see you all tomorrow. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. Have fun. Stay safe.
Tolerize.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
Mike Pounds. Burmicia, they say, pronounce it Burmicia, a real beautiful company.
Please clap. You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.